Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
And in this week's Camper Report Show, I'm going to be talking with the general manager of the RV Park of the Year in the Mega Park category, Myrtle Beach Travel Park in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. How about you?
I'm going to be speaking with Cooper. And if you don't know Cooper, it's Terry Cooper, the founder of the National RV Training Academy.
Oh, he does have
Texas.
two names.
Yeah, certainly. And they train technicians from dealers and manufacturers. They train people to be RV inspectors, and they'll even train consumers on fixing their own RVs. Consumers can go to the classes also. And I was speaking to Gail at RV Travel earlier this afternoon, and they're about ready to take off in their motorhome, but she's got a problem with the motorhome. And it was going to be 4 months before they could get it into the dealership, and they want to leave in a couple of weeks. So she said, I'm going to fix it.
We need more RV technicians. Those stories, plus all the news of the day, right here on
the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everybody. And welcome back to the Camper Report Show. This is the news section. And Bob, there's so much going on. And one of the stories, the big story, or at least I should say the story with the big numbers, is that Thor Industries just released their sales figures for the second quarter. And guess what? They're up 36%.
You know, they were already the largest. Yeah, they were already the largest RV manufacturer in the world. And they're getting bigger and getting better. And that's indicative of the unbelievable sales activity that we have out there right now.
Yep.
Do you know that almost every dealer in the country in January and February had significant sales increases over the same time last year? And that was pre-COVID. We were still in a good market at that point in time.
Yeah,
but we are seeing numbers in January and February that almost guarantee us that we will break another record this year. So I'm not surprised at the Thor numbers. Yeah, profitability is up also.
And the figures that they have include the acquisition of Tiffin, which we had talked about earlier. And again, they're big in the motorized product. Interestingly, the towables represented $1.37 billion in sales, and motorized, which would include mostly Tiffin, 557 million in net sales. So those numbers are what some companies would like to do in a decade. Thor is doing in a quarter. And
right, you're talking almost, you're over $2 billion for a quarter for 3 months. $2 billion.
Yep.
Yeah.
So everybody is getting into RVing. You know, you see it in commercials on TV all the time now that you never saw before, and you see celebrities getting into RVing. But the very interesting part about this story is that IKEA, yes, folks, IKEA, the giant homes furnishings and kitchen appliance place, is getting into RVs, and they're selling tiny houses that are 178 square feet that sell for about $50,000. But Bob, tell our viewers what the big hitch is with this.
It's IKEA, right?
It's IKEA. So what's that mean?
So it won't fit in your living room, but you're going to have to put it together in your driveway.
Right. It won't fit in your car.
You have to build it yourself.
You have to build it yourself. And they're selling these throughout the country right now. I don't know if if every store has them or whether they're doing them just for certain areas as a test, but for under $50,000. And from what I was able to read, they look like pretty solid units. If you you might have to go to an RV training institute or a academy to learn how to fix RVs. Here's one that will teach you how to put them together. What do you think of that whole thing?
What I found interesting in the story was every other paragraph was a little bit of a disclaimer that you better check with, because they were kind of pitching it not so much as an RV, although it is on wheels. It was more or less to have the thing put out in the back of your house as a second studio or an office or an in-law apartment or something like that. but they were very careful to say, you might not be able to do it, so you should check with your town, and you
Yeah.
might not be able to have it in your driveway, and you might not be able to hook it up. So there's a lot of disclaimers, but I mean, it did look well built. It did look like it was a good, handy little project. Might be for a fishing camp or something that wants, something in the backyard. So especially with all the people working at home now, it's really popular to get a vintage trailer or to buy even a regular trailer, put it out in the backyard, and that becomes when you're doing your Zoom meetings, you're going out there and you're having quiet time because you're not in the office. So they're picking up on a trend, and I think it would be very popular because they're going to make it cost effective compared to other things in that product category in the price range. Yeah.
Yeah. And, IKEA, people knock them for quality, but we've got several pieces of furniture. And you know what? If I can put it together, it's got to be ease of installation. And the other thing it said was buy one and put it in your backyard and rent it out if you live in a resort area. But it also had that little asterisk next to it saying check with local authorities to do so. So IKEA and RVing.
I'm good at some of that IKEA stuff because I wind up putting it together twice.
Right.
The first time it's wrong, and then I have to go back. And I read the instructions, Then I have to go back and do it the right way.
But the good thing is you don't have to read the instructions because there's no words in them. They're just pictures. Arrows, and
pictures,
and everything else. So, staying with the letters, IKEA is IKEA. Another group of letters that we've been talking about lately is FMCA, the Family Motor Coach Association. And they're having one of their national rallies down in Perry, Georgia. And Bob, you know a little bit about the numbers a little bit on this.
Yeah, Perry, Georgia is a phenomenal rally point. A lot of RV clubs use that as a rally event venue. But I did hear that they were expecting less than 600 or about 600 coaches. And to put that in perspective, I went back and looked at since 2011, FMCA has had 5 events at the Perry Fairgrounds. Those 5 events averaged 2,800 units, 2,800 coaches per event. And they only have 600 scheduled for this week. And that's a significant drop. And they had to cancel their conventions last year because of COVID. And let's be realistic, the average age of FMCA member is over 70 years old. So they're vulnerable to begin with. And how many of them are fully vaccinated? And a lot of the older people just decided that they weren't going to go. And I think that probably puts them in a tough financial position. If you think, even if you thought you were going to get up over 1,000 and you only get half of that, that's going to be a tough
right.
venue.
1,000 is 50% of the closest prior low number. I mean, when you think of, what did they have, like 7,800 coaches when they had it up in New England 10 or 12 years ago?
In Brunswick, Maine in 2000, I think it was 2000, because it was before 9/11.
20 years.
They had over 7,000, and that was the consumers. That was the RV owners themselves that came from all over the country, and that didn't count the salespeople and the demonstration coaches. And at that event, they had almost 1,000 demonstration coaches test drives. And if you remember that, and some people won't remember that because that was far back, it was held in Maine because FMCA was actually founded in Brinkley, Maine.
Yep.
So they went there for that anniversary. Now, what was also a nice piece of trivia, that was an active naval air station, like with big planes.
Air station, right?
But amazingly, at the week that FMCA was there, all of the planes disappeared. Well, Bill Cohen, who was the Secretary of Defense, he was a senator at that time, I believe,
from Maine.
Was from Maine. And conveniently, all the government people disappeared for a week, and the place was filled up with every runway had motorhomes up one side, down the other, the cross runways. I tell you, it was a great, absolutely great.
I went to that event.
Probably the best of all times.
Yep. I went to that event. So anyway, so keeping in line with letters, KOA comes into the news again, and we know so many of the great people there, and we know about the care camps that KOA don't doesn't own, but they have a strong relationship with. And speaking of Maine again, the KOA up in Bar Harbor. Now there's only one KOA up there. There used to be two, but they turned one of them into Terramore, which we're going to talk about in a future show. But you know what? They have bottle deposits on all of the water bottles and soda bottles, et cetera, in the great state of Maine. And during last summer, the KOA decided to collect the bottles and give the money to care camps. And they gave away $2,500 to care camps, and their goal this year is $3,000. But the key to the whole thing is they're trying to make recycling fun, and by tying it to a charity, and a great charity. We just told you about last week about Patrick Industries tying in with them, and care camps. If anybody is aware of it, tell them a little bit about what care camps do.
Yeah, they raise money to send children with cancer to camps, and they might be Boy Scout, Girl Scout camps. They may be campgrounds, but they get a chance to go to camp with their parents, with their loved ones, with their siblings, and be a camper for a week and forget all about the hospitals and the treatments and the prognosis of what they have. And it's a great organization, so we try to support it when we can. And many of the KOA campgrounds themselves are doing a lot of fundraising for them, and KOA does a significant contribution to their annual budget every year.
We'll put the address there if anybody wants to donate on their own. They don't have to do it through KOA. They can donate directly as individuals. And our final story is just the update on the Mid-Atlantic Conference, which took place last week. It was hosted by the New Jersey Campground Owners Association. And the twist that it had, the reason we brought it up in the news, is that it was the first time that a campground association held their off-season meeting in an area that wasn't within their own territory, because they couldn't go in New Jersey, they couldn't go in Maryland or up there. They went to Florida, and according to Joanne, who is executive director of the New Jersey Association, or president, I should say, they had 41 people representing 35 campgrounds there, and it was just slightly off from their normal numbers. And they said they had a great time. The people stayed for the weekend, because campground people don't get that often to get that time of year to take off. But, Bob, as we see more and more organizations be restricted in what they can do for meetings, they're going to go to the locations that will host them. Right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with spring break starting this week, and all the college students down to Louisiana and Florida and Texas, the panhandles. It'll be very interesting, because I don't think you're going to see a surge. No. I think this thing is on its way out, and there's good indications that with all these people getting vaccinated, I'm fully vaccinated. I got my second shot, so I can go wherever I want to go.
So anyway, we want to thank you so much for joining us for the news section of the Camper Report Show. We'll be back with two great stories right after these important words. Stay with us, everybody.
Mike from RV Blogger here. Did you know that every trip that you plan in RV Trip Wizard automatically uploads into the GPS in the RV Life app on your phone? Just click the RV Life app, click the hamburger on the bottom, go to RV Trip Wizard. Your trips all populate. Pick the one you want, and then click the directions to the first campground. Click your RV-friendly directions, and you're on your way from where you are to the campground where you want to be.
And welcome back to this segment of the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and one of the great parts of the RV industry is being able to experience RV parks all over the United States, and some are tiny, and some are a little bit bigger. And then there's the mega park. And today we're talking with Travis Thompson, who is the general manager of Myrtle Beach Travel Park of all places, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we want to welcome him and congratulate him on winning the award of the ARVC Park of the Year for 2020. And Travis, welcome to a story about your park.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you having us.
Winning that award is not an easy feat. And I'm sure that you'd be the first to admit that you got to have a great team behind you in order to make that happen and be able to answer the phone with Myrtle Beach Travel Park, ARVC Park of the Year. Talk about a little bit about the team that you've got assembled there.
Yeah, this team that's here and has been here, and a lot of them have been here, some 16. I've got an office manager who's been here 30 plus years. Just a fantastic group, and not just the team members, but the family of owners that have this park. They've had a vision. This park's going on 51 years of age this year. So they've been in the business a long time, and I can tell you that the personality of the park has not changed. It's
What
really,
what do you mean by that?
well, it's a mega park, but it really has a mom and pop feel. The way the park is situated is kind of the way camping used to be. It's more of it's very family friendly. Like we talked before, we don't have 1,000 golf carts screaming through the park. It's just kind of the way you see people, moms and dads and their kids out on bicycles, able to walk the park. The way it's situated, everything within walking distance.
And as far as the number of sites, et cetera, what are we dealing with there? There's
1,188. Roughly about 400 of those are annuals. The rest would be transit units.
Mm-hmm. Any other accommodations that you provide or have?
We do have villas. We have villas that we rent on a week basis. In the off season, 3-night minimum.
Mm-hmm. And Myrtle Beach is a special place. I mean, our family has vacationed there for about 15 years. And that's the amazing thing is we own a house at Cape Cod. So we leave Cape Cod and go to Myrtle because we like funnel cakes and amusements and that type of thing. But the interesting part about Myrtle is there's really something for everyone, regardless of your age or what you like doing. Talk a little bit about the surrounding accommodations, or surrounding attractions.
With us, we have Barefoot Landing, which is kind of a smaller, it's got shops around a big lake and there's restaurants, things of that nature. Obviously, excuse me, you've got golf courses up and down the coast here. And there's just a lot for people of all ages and personalities to do. I mean, you can get in the heart of Myrtle Beach, you can get to Broadway at the beach within about 10, 15 minutes, where of course they've got everything under the sun going on, from amusements to nightlife, things of that nature.
Yeah. How has the pandemic impacted what's going on in Myrtle as far as number of visitors and?
Well, unfortunately, in the hotel motel industry, they've been hit really hard this year. As we all know, camper sales have been through the roof. Last I checked, I think the production was up 54% last year, which is just an insane number.
Yep, exactly.
And so camping has been, I think, the heart of it. Camping is getting a lot bigger. And you see new campgrounds being built and people adding sites to their existing parks to accommodate all of these rigs. But I think the camping industry, aside from when obviously we were all shut down by the state in April, has been fairly strong. Our neighbors in the motel industry, like I said, have really been hurt.
Yeah. And then we were just talking the other day, the RV industry and camping and all the related aspects of the RV industry are having record years because it gives you the opportunity to be in your own bathrooms, have your own cooking accommodations. And again, when you're on the ocean, you're not in a restricted area as far as, like being in a big building, that type of thing.
Sure.
Did you notice an influx of new RVers in the past year? Because all the studies show that, 50% of the units that were sold last year were sold to first-time RVers. Did that number bear out in your visitors?
Definitely has. And being in this industry, this is my 28th year working in RV resorts, and I'm usually pretty good with faces. I'll suddenly come in, I'm like, I've seen you. I remember you from last year. This past year, the number of new faces was incredible. So you're probably 30-40%, which was interesting because a lot of your regulars were, we used to be able to wait to come in and make reservations a little later. We're kind of caught off guard with the fact there was no availability a lot of weekends.
Yeah.
By first timers, which is great. It's a great industry to be in.
And with a resort like yours, people think, oh, there's 1,200 spots. There's always room. But because of the fact that you're a national award winner, Wouldn't you recommend to people make reservations soon for the peak seasons?
I do. I think you have to make reservations. Most parks are going to make reservations up to a year in advance. And I would highly suggest that people do that, whether it be here or anywhere else. When you've got that growing clientele, the earlier the better for sure.
So before we go, just tell us about what type of activities are available to families that may want to come and stay there. And, you know, some people like to go to Myrtle and just stay on the park and not even leave the premises, but what type of activities are available?
Well, fortunately, we're one of those properties where you can come and not have to stay. I mean, we do have a campground store with grocery items in there. We've got 2 grills, Breakfast by the Sea restaurant along the ocean there, then a grill within our arcade. We've got full-time activity staff, huge meeting hall that seats about 260 folks. So there's all kind of stuff to do, basketball courts to the lazy river and pools to themed weekends. Obviously, our snowbird business this time of year is pretty good. They're an active group, which we love to see. We really have a little bit of everything for any age group.
Great. So MyrtleBeachTravelPark.com?
That's correct.
MyrtleBeachTravelPark.com. Say you heard about it on the Camper Report show. And Travis Thompson, we want to thank you so much for spending time with us to tell us about the park, and want to let everyone know that, you know what, if a park wins a national award like that, then it's got to be a great park. So we want to thank you again for being with us, and maybe we'll get a chance to visit you sometime during the coming year.
Well, thank you for having us. We greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so it's the Camper Report show. Stay with us. We've got a lot more coming up right after this.
I'm Jesse from Outsiders Calling, and I love adventurous family travel with my wife Jenny and our son Tucker.
For over 3 years, we've RV'd across the U.S. and Mexico, and it's tough to find places that meet all our needs.
Now we plan our trips with the RV Trip Wizard, pull it up in the RV Life app, select it, and go.
It helps us discover amazing new places to grow together as a family.
RV Trip Wizard with the RV Life app is an awesome trip planning combination.
You can get both for one low annual price. Check out rvlife.com to learn more.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Camper Report show, and my guest this morning is Cooper, just plain old Cooper. If they don't know you as Cooper, we'll introduce them to you. Terry Cooper, the managing director of the National RV Training Academy. Great to have you spend some time. I know you're very busy doing teaching and conferences this week. Thanks for squeezing us into your schedule.
Well, I appreciate it. We're doing the FMCA rally here in Perry, Georgia this week.
And you're doing the kind of the university or the basic, the technical training for the membership, right?
That's correct.
Yep. And I hope it's a good rally. That Perry, Georgia is a fantastic place to have a rally.
It is. Good facility. Very good facility.
Yeah. So tell us how you founded NRVTA.
I had taught at a technical school in Waco, Texas, and through a series of situations, evaded, and I decided I wanted to travel. And so I started traveling around the country, doing training at dealerships and doing RV shows. And slowly but surely, I realized that we needed a permanent home. And so we bought the Texan RV Park here in Athens, Texas. And then we built the training facility with our partner, Steve Anderson, with Work Camper News. So that's how it all got started.
And you built the Big Red Schoolhouse.
It is. It's 15,000 square feet. When you've been down this road before, you kind of know what you need. And that's what happened to us when I was there at the college. I realized real quick, sometimes we needed more base space, we needed more hands-on lab space. And so when we built the Big Red Schoolhouse, that's exactly what we did. We had more of those places so that way the students can learn with their hands.
Well, it's also great that you bought the Texan RV Park, because the technicians that come to the school can stay right there, do their classes during the day, go back to their rig at night, do their homework, and it makes it very convenient.
It is. Many of them just walk home. They say, hey, I'm going to have to get out and do some walking anyway. And, there's nowhere on that campus they can't be there within 7 or 8 minutes.
Yes. Now, tell us about the types of courses that you offer, because you have a wide range. You go from industry to consumer.
That's true. That's true, because a lot of folks that come to us come to us as a consumer, and then they realize, hey, I want to do more. Our core classes, the core programs, I should call them, are the RV technician, and we see a lot of folks that come to us want to become mobile techs. And then we have the class that we had before is the RV inspector, kind of home inspectors for RVs. We've just recently kicked off our generator and our solar program. So those are the major thrusts that we've got going right now. There's more coming, but it's like everything else. You've got to build the foundation. You got to get everybody going, and then we'll move into the other stuff.
And let's talk a little bit about the dealer technician training. And that's so critical today. We know we have a shortage of RV technicians.
Yes.
It's nice to see the dealers stepping up and having their technicians trained.
They are. What we have typically with the dealer techs, the dealer will send them for a week. This program for the RV technicians is a 5-week program. So we have broken it up into 1-week modules. So the dealer can make the decision to send us a tech that maybe just needs air conditioning, or maybe he needs refrigerators. And so they send them to us. And then after they've completed all 5 classes, they're eligible then to take their certification exam and become certified technicians. But the key to the whole thing is that we're trying to take care of the dealer's immediate needs. And so he may have someone in his ranks that's really sharp, good electrical, just doesn't understand air conditioners, or maybe doesn't understand furnaces and water heaters, and we'll bring them in and give them that 1-week module on that subject.
So they become subject matter experts, and
that's correct.
It helps out the whole dealership. Let's talk a little bit about the consumer portion of the training. I think it's very important because we, as you've often said in your presentations and in your writings, that about 80% of the things that go wrong with an RV are really falling into the preventive maintenance or easily maintained. If somebody's got some mechanical ability, and you approach the consumer from 2 different standpoints. One, they can come to a class, but you also have tech in a box. So explain those 2 options for consumers.
Okay. As you said, the 80-20 rule, I am amazed how many people buy an RV, even though they got a walkthrough, whatever they got just evaporated. And so maybe they bought it on Friday. By Tuesday, they've already forgotten half of what they learned. And so they come to us and they're still scratching their head and said, I don't understand how this works. And so we actually have a program that it's a 1-week program for the RV owners, and they go through that program, and it's very hands-on-y. And since they're parked here at the campground, it also gives them an opportunity to study in the classroom, then go back out to their rig that afternoon. Now, we also have folks that their schedule just won't allow them to come. So what we have created is what we call the home study option. And what we did is we recorded the 5-day class that we did with the consumers. We recorded it and put it on a thumb drive. And then they also have the same booklets that we use in the 5-day class. And so we put that in a box and we sell it to them, $397. But what we have found is that if we'll give them a chance to come, give an enticement to come and spend live, many of them will. So what we'll do is we'll put a $300 coupon in that box, say, come spend time with us, take the 1-week live class, do this material live, and you still have your home study that you've already studied, but you get a $300 discount off of the live class.
That's fantastic. The question for that, and it just kind of came to me as you were talking there. With the influx of new RVers, 502,000 new units sold last year. We're projected to break the all-time record again this year. So if we just take the last 2 years, we're putting out 1 million new consumers in RVs, 55% of which have never owned an RV before.
Right.
Have you had any inquiries from dealers or manufacturers who might consider putting the home study course in as part of the package when they sell a new RV? So they go through the walkthrough, but then they hand the consumer the tech in a box, the home study portion. So if they have, it complements nicely the walkthrough. Am I off base on that? Is there anybody actually inquired?
No, we do. I have some dealers. That's exactly what they've done. They've ordered the home study and they do give it to their customers. What I find, it's really strange. Dealers are, and I've worked for dealerships, so I can say this: dealerships, they don't want to give away any more than they have to. They're working with some pretty tight margins sometimes, and so what will happen is they'll take a coupon and they'll give that to the consumer and say, okay, I've worked out a discount for you. So if you want to take this course, then here it is. And so that's another thing. And that seemed to be less of a burden for the dealer. And it was easier for them to keep over the coupon than it is a box with all the goodies in it.
Okay. Let's finish up with the discussion of independent and mobile reps. And I think, it's kind of a favorite topic of mine because I don't think that the industry appreciates them enough for what they contribute. They have specialized talents.
Yeah.
They can go on site. And many times with the number of RVs, again, that we have out there, consumers are waiting long times for appointments. They may be stranded. Having the ability to have somebody come out to your rig, even if it's sitting in your driveway, talk about the importance of that and why it's a sweet spot for you folks also.
Well, we've actually had some of the vendors, the manufacturers, when they were doing classes, because we opened up the Big Red Schoolhouse for a lot of the manufacturers to do their tech training for their dealers to bring the techs up to speed. They have pulled us aside on several occasions and said, look, how are things going with the mobile tech? We would like to support it to the point to where we want to make sure that when you do your classes, that you give our guys the application to be able to sign up and become vendors for us to be repair people. And so we've done that. I actually have an instructor right now that owns a mobile service business in Northern California. He actually has some dealerships that call him from time to time and say, can you come in after hours and work with some of our guys and show them some things? And so there's a partnership going on there. And so this technician goes in, he works with the dealership's people and basically kind of mentors his people along. And then they just pay him as if he were a technician. And then he's gone. But he's a very specialized guy. He's really big into leveling systems and slide out systems. So I see that as another way that we can help the dealers with these mobile techs. Like I say, the guy's specialist, and he can help that dealer take care of that customer. And as far as the customer concerned, it got done at that dealership.
I agree. And when we speak to our dealers up here in New England, we say the same thing. You might have a real sticky propane problem and not be able to diagnose it the right way, but there may be an independent tech out there who's a specialist in propane. Why not, rather than waste the time of a tech trying to diagnose a problem that they may not be familiar with, call in the specialist and let them do it.
True.
Or in this kind of
That's
situation where you are busy and you have extended delays, again, a lot of the things that go into the dealership are, I won't say easy, but they're not the complicated ones. So maybe you got 10 rigs in the lot that have kind of easy things to do, but you guys are working on the more expensive and the lengthy ones. Why not call up an independent tech and say, hey, can you give me a day or two next week? And I want you to knock out, 10 of these RVs for me. So there is a synergy there. And I hope we see that continue to grow.
I do too. There's a relationship. And honestly, if this industry has any chance of surviving and thriving, it's going to be if we work together, because there's enough chairs at the table to where everybody can benefit, everybody can help one another. Because at the end of the day, if the consumer doesn't hang on to that RV, we lose them.
Right.
And that's not where we want to go.
That's right. No. Hey, Cooper, I really appreciate you taking time. I know you're a very busy man, but we're delighted to have you come into the Camper Report show so we can introduce you to our fans and our viewers. And I'm going to let you get back to work, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. We will be seeing you again. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.